Hello and welcome everyone to episode 38 of One Piece at a Time, the One Piece read-through podcast where we read and discuss 5 chapters of the One Piece manga each and every week. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host and freelance letterer at Shonen Jump, Brandon Bovia. How you doing, Brandon?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Brandon Bovia, English letterer of manga like Dragon Ball Super and Kaiju number 8. Thankfully for me, I say, that Dragon Ball Super's on the manga's on a bit of a hiatus, so I didn't have to work on it this month. I don't know when it's coming back, but it was one of those like mentally blocking out my schedule. Like, oh, I've got Dragon Ball coming up soon. It's like, wait, no, I'm good.
You have a little bit of extra free time.
Yeah, wow. What a concept.
Enjoy it. That's really what it comes down to. And actually, we were talking before we started recording this episode. You had the chance to sit down and watch the One Piece Odyssey stuff at TGS.
Yeah, I did. The thing I was hoping that they would reveal was the release date, which we finally got as in January 12th, which is... I think they originally announced it for 2022, so it slipped a little bit, but, January's not too far away, and I'm pretty excited for it. They showed off a little bit of story stuff. I kind of, it was all entirely in Japanese, and so I understood probably about like 30 to 40% of what they were saying. So I don't want to be like the definitive voice on this topic, but they sort of lightly touched on the story premise, and it looks like the Straw Hats have all had like their powers taken, which is like a, okay, we're gonna reset everybody to level 1 for this JRPG. So it looks like you'll be like accruing your powers back for the whole crew as you like go through the game. And they showed like battles and stuff. The trailer they showed at the end of it was at the end of the trailer had a little tease of Vivi and Alabasta, which is kind of funny considering where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's for sure. But it also, as you're saying, is like if it goes into like memories and stuff, they could have stuff for later on, which I get it. It's cool from a fan perspective. It's like, here's a RPG battle against Baroque Works and Crocodile as a boss.
I was a little disappointed because I was excited at the concept of just having an entirely new world to explore. But so it depends on how much they're going to be leaning on that stuff, I guess. There is 1.5 billion games where you can play through like Alabasta scenarios and stuff like that. But like like I said, I get it.
Is this island more of a connective tissue where you go into the memory stuff, or is it just the memory stuff is a little bonus that you get on occasion?
Yeah, exactly. I would highly prefer that it is the latter.
But it works as an RPG because having Luffy just go to only have like Gum Gum Pistol and then he gets Gum Gum Gatling and stuff like that. You can see the progression. Yeah,
and I think that it makes sense. I feel like you can only do that so many times in like games and stuff of like, all right, you're reset. But I feel like One Piece has never done that before, so it feels fresh in this context.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. I'm interested. It's early 2023 is looking packed with games right now, so I don't know if I'd even get to it. But by the time we get to that game's release, we'll only be in the next arc. We'll still be in the next arc of what we're after Alabasta. So that is still not far enough for me to feel like I'm not going to get spoiled.
Yeah, and as we've. They tend to be very. They let all that stuff out. I feel like in these games and stuff. So it's sort of sad to say that like just from that little Alabasta tease, it's sort of like, okay, anything's on the table at this point.
Yeah.
In terms of like what they'll spoil or what they'll show, and there's tons of stuff in the manga that would be incredibly easy to spoil that the anime hasn't got yet too, and even stuff in the anime that probably better off not seeing yet.
Yeah, we'll see what they do.
It's tricky.
They started a while ago, so it's probably only up to a certain point. If they could just say what arc this takes place in, I think that would help a lot.
Yeah. That's been the confusing thing for me, because the designs they've been using are from a very specific point in the story. And they've kind of become like the default like One Piece brand image, but like that part was like 10 years ago.
Oh my god!
So it's like, what are you? I don't get it. I'm not sure either yet. Is what I'm trying to say.
Huh? Well, I guess we'll see. But in the meantime, we have some chapters to talk about, and honestly, I hope you're ready for some fighting, because that's what most of it is. As we start with chapter 186-4. Yeah, that's not confusing. Been a while since we had a cover page. Everybody looking pretty awesome, getting reminded of Zoro's scar, because man, it still looks nasty.
Oh yeah, I feel like I see this spread everywhere, or maybe it's just like the Zoro pose.
I think it's the Zoro pose. Yeah,
the Zoro pose and the hippo for some reason. Like The anime might have used it in the spread on like one of the openings or endings or something.
Oh,
like,
okay.
yeah, I feel like I see that shot of Zoro a lot.
The thing I found myself focusing on for whatever reason is Luffy's shirt, where it's 1 + 6 = 4.
I wonder what that's about.
I wonder because I wonder if it's like some sort of Japanese pun, because I know 4 = death.
Yeah. Well, I get. I mean, because so 1 + 6 is 7, which is pronounced shichi, or can be pronounced shichi, and the shi part means death, or can mean death.
Huh.
So maybe.
Okay.
that's my best guess.
I don't know. But let's get into the fight itself, because, hey, this fight between Chopper, Usopp, and Mr. Four, Mr. Merry Christmas is not over. I gotta say, Chopper looking pretty boss in that.
Yeah, I mean, because this whole explosion thing was like all from his plan, and he just looks like, cool guys don't look at explosions. That's kind of the vibe I get.
And it's amazing how they could actually get some threat, just visual threat from even Lasso in that smoke.
Yeah, just God. On the next page, that close up where it's just like Mr. Four in shadow going like 4, like at the right scale, that looks like something out of Attack on Titan.
Yeah, or like Nemesis from Resident Evil.
Oh God.
You kind of can't blame Usopp, who just goes no more, and he's just books it. He's like, I don't want to die. I've had enough. I'm out of here. Chopper tries to warn him. It's like, you can't get away from them, and Miss Merry Christmas confirming it. You're trying to get cute with us, but you're not going to run away. And it's like, at first I was like, oh, Usopp, don't. First I was hoping that this was a ploy by him. And then I realized, no, this was legit. He is just terrified and wants out.
It's so interesting how it's that key word. Miss Merry Christmas says, how fitting that a feeble captain like yours would have a cowardly crew. It's like Usopp just like turns on a dime the second, just like, you just call Luffy feeble.
And then the fact that she's saying Crocodile killed Luffy, and they're just like, no, you can't be lying. You have to be lying. And she just taunts him even further, laughs at the idea because he's saying that Luffy's going to be king of the pirates. And this finally hardens Usopp. It's like, okay, I'm ready to fight.
Yes. And that, I even love it too. Like, it's to the point where like she's laughing and like Usopp yells over, like his balloon of yelling is like over Miss Merry Christmas laughing. And, he's, trying to teach Chopper a lesson. That's awesome.
Like, even though he is going through the most pain, he has this nice speech where it's, there comes a time for you, comes a time when a man, if he's up against an enemy he's scared to death of, and then he gets smashed to a wall, so it's like blubbering it out at this point. It's like, even if there's no chance of winning, and it's just this whole build-up, it's like, oh, Usopp, my man.
I didn't even realize at first, like, he's mid-speech, and then, because he's getting just like, Merry Christmas is using the Moletown highway or whatever, straight toward Mr. Four.
He sends him straight through a wall. His nose is bent up. He's lost another tooth. Yep. He's bleeding out everywhere. And we get the cleanup hitter, which we went full Mortal Kombat on this one.
Seriously.
The crack in Usopp's skull, the broken nose.
Ooh.
I think his hair is cracked in that X-ray.
He should be dead.
Yes, he should be dead. And even they believe that he should be dead, because through sheer willpower, my God, Usopp, he stands back up and finishes his speech. And he's like, that time is when somebody makes fun of their friend's dream. And he's like, that's the one thing I won't let you laugh at.
I love that.
It's so meaningful that Usopp's the one saying, because Luffy's going to be the king of the pirates.
Exactly. I feel like there's a kind of a running theme almost, or I feel like I've seen a post floating around where it's like every time that like the Straw Hats say that Luffy's going to become king of the pirates, like Oda makes sure everybody gets their moment where they have absolute confidence in Luffy. And just, I love seeing this from Usopp because he was running away like 4 pages ago. And then like he just
to have that's
the one thing I will let you laugh at.
He throws away his own safety when he's like, he doesn't care about himself, but to hear that about Luffy, the fact that he's reflecting on Luffy to these people is like, no, I can't do this.
I'm proud of him.
Yeah, I am too. But they're like, okay, time to finish you off. And that's when Chopper kicks into action with his horn boost. And Usopp, suffering a concussion probably, screams out to Chopper, get behind him. He still has
a plan, despite the fact that he's bleeding out.
He shoots off his smoke star, blinds Mr. Four, takes off his shoes so that Chopper can come back behind and scoop her up.
That's so good.
And then he imitates her to make it sound like she's coming up, and he, man, just smack right into Miss Merry Christmas's face.
I love this because it's really like taking advantage of the fact that Mr. Four is really slow and kind of stupid.
Yes.
And that is
yes.
It is sort of one of those plans that would only work in this situation, but it's completely valid. Even more impressive to me, just like the because you got that panel of Miss Merry Christmas, just like like Looney Tunes you get in the background, and like how they finish off Mr. Four, where it's like Usopp firing off a hammer, like pulling it back on Chopper's antlers. This is just so cool.
It is, and it makes me think that Mr. Four is a bit of a glass cannon that he hits really hard, but he can't take the damage because Usopp's normally, and that's not a huge hammer at all by any means.
Yeah.
And having it launched into him straight into Lasso and then into a pillar, knocking them all down. And I don't know if his eyes are just all conked out at that point.
Wow.
Even before Lasso sneezes up one last baseball and blows them all up.
Wow.
What a finish. Like that's even better than the explosion because, in retrospect, it made sense the fight wasn't over because Chopper had his hero moment, but Usopp didn't have his.
God. Seeing Usopp finally get his moment, I think, is just like what really makes this fight stand out in my mind now more than it did the first time I read it.
It's the ingenuity that you see each time. Like, they come up with that stuff and have Chopper understand it. It's really good. And thank God he's next to Chopper because
right. he needs a doctor.
Desperately needs a doctor. Oh boy, does he. We do get this little map showing where each of the fights are taking place. But we also get, actually before even that, it was like, I like that we get a little indication. It's like Usopp and Chopper win the battle of Alabarna's Southeast Gate.
And that...
It's like, okay, that's when a fight's over.
And I think that is something that remains consistent throughout the series. Once you get the little narration box, it's over.
There you go. Great chapter.
Oh, yeah. Great
end to the fight. All right. Chapter 187, Stalemate. And we're back with Hachi, Volume 5. He gives a piece of meat to a hungry man. Again, emphasis on Hachi just being
He's
a
just
good dude.
Dude. Not to spoil the chapter covers for later in this episode, but I love how much like a Zelda trading sequence these feels like, where you get one thing to get the other thing.
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. He gets the meat. He helps the panda shark, gets meat, shares the meat with this man, and then we'll see what it goes on as it goes on.
It's just it's nice to see.
But it's also, I notice a trend of Hachi being rewarded for doing good things.
Yes.
Which I think is a nice way to show recovery.
Mm-hmm. That is a good way to put it.
Yeah, this is totally a redemption arc. This isn't like Buggy where it's, he's obviously still bad. He didn't learn anything. He is all about redeeming himself.
Yeah, and is at least, if not a little bit gullible, but, genuinely like, a good person. And I feel like we always sort of got that even back in Arlong Park, where, he was sort of the least bad and just kind of like a lovable doofus.
He might have been the one to find the stuff that revealed that Belmare was around. That's always going to be the big point against him. He's the one who revealed Belmare.
Hey, he's trying. He's getting better.
He's trying. Then we're back with more of the rebels fighting the soldiers, and it is pure chaos.
Absolutely.
Koza hanging in there, but his wound's already opening up, and it's looking a little rough.
He's got a bit of a crazy plan to he's basically going to try to gut it to the palace.
Yeah, be like, surrender. That's all it comes down to. It's like, surrender so we can save people.
Yeah, sure.
Classic Cobra would do that, but classic Cobra, actual Cobra wouldn't let it get to this point.
Yeah.
So, yeesh. But in the meantime, Vivi has successfully made it to the soldiers, reveals herself, and says, demands to be taken to Chaka.
Yeah. It's sort of interesting. They talk about this a little bit later. Like, she's been gone for 2 years. So I imagine just like the looks on these guards' faces, just like, Vivi, what?
Yeah, I didn't realize she'd been gone for that long. And then we're into the real meat, where time for the South Block at Polka Boulevard.
I didn't even realize it had a name.
I didn't either until they said it here. And what a start to just have Sanji and Bon Clay kicking each other in the face, sending each other flying back into the building.
I genuinely forgot how evenly matched this fight is. But just like, I love the way Oda frames these two. Like, it feels like a kind of like a bit of like a kung fu movie, but also like a classic cowboy kind of standoff.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah, it feels very cinematic.
I absolutely agree.
Very cinematic.
I think this is some of his best action paneling to date. What we see in this fight. I am just consistently impressed with. This is a fantastic fight. And to start it off, just showing how evenly matched they are is just great. Just seeing them all work together and get all these crazy techniques like the drunken swan soiree. There's a lot of French words being thrown around as they fight each other.
Yeah, I love the cell de ouch makes a return.
Like, again, great high impact fight between the two of them, screaming out their attack names, and it just ends in an even match every time.
God, like the impact where like Sanji's using the Mutin mallet and Mr. 2 is using the swan arabesque, and then just like you see kind of their legs, but just like an explosion of effects, like they feels like they can't even reach each other, and then they just go flying back again.
It's so good. It's like, okay, change of tactics. Time to use the clone fruit. Yes. I have this fantastic memory, and I can create a montage of parts. And once I've crippled you with laughter, you'll be at my mercy. So here's the weirdest head, the weirdest eyes, the weirdest nose, and the weirdest mouth. And it's his own face with Usopp's nose.
The gag, that's just like the timing of the panels here is so good. Where it's just like those two panels in the center where Sanji just says nothing. He holds that pose, and then it's just, he's crying at the bottom panel, and Sanji's like, that was 90% you, dude.
Oh, it's so good. I love that joke so much.
Just like the effectiveness with which, like, because that there was like, oh god, like 3-4 pages of just like nonstop action, and then Oda is able to seamlessly be like, okay, time for a joke, and then kind of going back into the action.
Yeah, Sanji gets a good hit, and that's like, have you no feelings? And he's like, hey, that reminds me, in the past I fought against somebody that couldn't bring himself to harm a friend, so let's see if this works on you. He brings up Usopp and immediately gets kicked in the face.
Yeah.
And we got this wonderful moment from Sanji. It's like, you're an idiot if you think I'd fall for your goofy illusions. It's the inside that counts. And he's like, he's so cool.
And then he just on a dime just transforms into Nami. See, using your friend's faces won't work on you.
Yes.
And then
the stone faced, and then Nami, and he just goes gaga, and then he's back to stone faced, and it's just like, fool.
Oh, it's so good.
Like, oh boy, this is where Sanji's weakness comes into play.
Oh yes, indeed.
And then ending it off with Vivi reaching into the palace, meeting Chaka. She did it. This didn't get held up. I love that she's repeating her father, where she's like, if we do this thing, what? Will this kingdom come to an end? No, because this is not Alabasta. It's the people hurting them. It's just like, I love that realization on his face. It's like, that's what the king said. But her plan is to destroy the palace, which I completely forgot that.
Me too. Just blow it up.
Yep. Get rid of it. That's all it is.
Honestly, coming from Vivi, it's kind of a wild plan when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. We do have an SBS. Nothing really much to mention other than left-handed versions of Sanji, Usopp, and Chopper.
They're all great.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty great. I like them. It's like, here you go. Now give me a break. That's very Oda, I feel.
Yep.
But let's go ahead and move on to chapter 188, Oh Come My Way Karate. And we see the reward Hachi gets for giving this meat to this fisherman who's just still on this deserted island. He gets a ring.
Did Oda play Link's Awakening while drawing these?
He might have. It seems like it. But yeah, that's really all it is. Hachi got a ring. Yeah, save it. It's something that seems a little odd, but does get paid off, funny enough. Back into it, and everybody's freaking out that Vivi wants to destroy the palace. And the soldiers are telling Chaka to not follow her because it's 4,000 years of history.
4,000 is an interesting number. That's all I'll say.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that. Oh, boy. That's interesting. But, he's reminded of Cobra, and he's like, all right, as you wish.
Yeah, and then they're just, all right, they're ready to do it.
Let's do it. And we're back to the Sanji fight. And he's on the ground bleeding as Nami laughs over top of him. Nami and that.
I'm sure he likes it.
Yeah, I think so.
He tries to overcome it.
He tries.
He tries.
He tries. He's like, you swan, you're not so hot. It's just like, darn it, she's so cute.
And then,
oh boy. Oh yes, it's so hot in this country. I feel like taking off some clothes, and Sanji. just needs some help. I do love the gag Swan Chop. He's like, my eye.
Yes, one chop. My eye. Or because he's got his eyes pop, or like he's got like a heart eye popping out of his head, and then Bon Clay uses the swan chop. I didn't realize that's what was happening the first time.
He literally chopped the heart eye, and that's what hurt his eye.
Oh.
There's some ridiculous attacks, like the mascara boomerang, and the faces on Sanji are so good.
So good. He's yeah. Oh man, I feel like he's really being pushed here.
It really is.
Wait a minute, like the mascara thing the mascara boomerang doesn't have anything to do with his devil fruit. So like that's just a thing he can do.
Yeah, he just has razor sharp mascara that he can throw like a boomerang.
I just had to think about that for a second.
He only uses it this one time, but it's just like I think it just emphasizes how ridiculous he is. It's like, all right, time to finish you off. I'm going to twirl, and then you're going to die, and then I'm going to go kill Vivi.
I love this attack.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. But then, sure enough, somehow, Sanji's able to get his kick off with the Jubast and kicks Bon Clay into the side of the wall and declares that he's found the flaw in his power.
I wonder how many like holes in the wall they've made at this point.
These buildings are still amazing that they're still standing, really.
Seriously.
And he's like, there's no flaw in my power. It's like, Sanji's, yeah, there is. There's a moment where you're vulnerable. Just before you attack, you always turn back into yourself by touching your face. It's like his abilities are actually linked to the person he's mimicking, which is very interesting as far as devil fruit.
Yeah. And a really good observation from Sanji, you know, all while he's still suffering from not being able to hit.
I wonder if that means if he can copy like people who have devil fruits, does that mean he can use their devil fruits? I assume not.
I think maybe it just might be that the Oh Come My Way karate is tied to like how he like his base look.
Yeah. That's
which makes sense because he's very proud of the way that he is.
Yeah.
So it makes sense in a weird way.
It does. And got the silliness of him confirming and just like, yeah,
yes,
it's fine. He's like, all right, so what? That's right. I can only use it when I'm in the form I trained in, but you're too beaten up now. And that's when he puts on his prima ballerina swan shoes.
God, the transition for one. I laughed so hard at this, and then once he actually starts attacking with it.
I laughed really hard at the fact that he had to declare that this one's a male, this one's a female.
Yeah, like, who can tell? Sanji.
But yeah, we got the Swan Bombardier, and Sanji barely gets out of the way, punches a hole straight through a building with nothing else, no cracks, nothing. It's just limber necks, beaks of steel. That is shockingly impressive. Like, it's weirdly cool.
This is peak One Piece, where it's just like the stupidest looking attacks are the most deadly.
Very, very true. It's like it's apparently made of steel, and when you direct that enormous power into one point, it's more like a bullet.
And then just God, I've on the next page here, where like Sanji like tries to get in a good counterattack, and you know like they kind of block each other's legs, and I'm like, I would be afraid to kick that thing.
Yeah, I have to imagine he still I think got the brunt of the hit because Bon Clay does not look as perturbed as Sanji after that hit. And he actually lands on his feet.
And it's increased his reach.
And then he's going in for the Winter Wonderland jet. And Sanji lights a cigarette that signified he knows what's going on. And he's like, all right, he has longer reach, but slower recovery. So I just need to evade the attack and I'll have the advantage. And that's exactly what he does.
This sequence was really awesome where he sort of like backflips behind Bon Clay.
And Bon Clay, good on him, immediately switches to Nami. And while he's in midair, he calls out, oh, hey, what's that on your left cheek? Where? And then goes back to normal.
So good.
Oh, that's a very good hit.
A good thwack in.
Yeah. Fun fight.
Mm-hmm.
One more SBS where it's actually rather interesting. I'm sure it's changed by now, but how TV stations worked in a day where One Piece actually wasn't aired all over Japan. It had to be, there were areas that didn't pick it up, which is crazy to me.
And even Oda says here, like even airing in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Though I do sort of get it. Like Aomori, or he names off like Aomori, Yamaguchi, and Oita don't get One Piece aired there. Aomori is it's pretty far north, like pretty far away from Tokyo. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely pretty remote, a little bit country.
Oh, yeah. And,
So that makes sense to me, but I don't know where Yamaguchi or Oita is.
and when you're country in Japan, you are very country.
Yeah. So, but it really is like Oda's just, he mentions that he had anime he couldn't watch back in the day because he grew up in Kyushu, which is way down to the south. And yeah, Tokyo's where all the good stuff happens.
Yeah. Oh, well. But chapter 189, 2. So I just realized that the chapters where they get defeated are just the numbers.
Yes.
I don't know why I didn't pick up on that until now, but either way, Hachi stumbles across the Goldfish Empire where the Goldfish Princess has actually lost her ring. And sure enough, what does Hachi have?
There it is.
These animal designs are so good.
They are incredible. It feels like a really cursed Little Mermaid.
It's wholesome. That's the big thing I'm getting from Hachi. It's not like hilarious or anything, like some of them have been, but it's definitely the most wholesome at this point.
It's very wholesome. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had to do some Googling to about Oita and Yamaguchi and where they are in Japan. They are closer to South Korea than they are Tokyo.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're basically like not quite Okinawa South, but like southern part of very southern part of that island.
That's
of the
crazy.
Yeah, so it's pretty far.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, getting back into the fight, and Sanji is just pummeling Mr. 2.
Yeah, he's taking the advantage back, and I love again all of these attack names like just coming out one after the other.
When Sanji gets on a roll, it gets devastating, and Sanji does take a hit to the gut with that swamp, but it still fights through it. This crazy fight where they're both on their hands and they're hitting their feet all around. I love it. Like I said, these are some dynamic and so like action-packed panels, and you still understand what's going on. Like I never felt like I didn't know what was happening.
They're really easy to read, but like there's so much going on. Just I love the framing. It really benefits from these two being kind of equally matched, where Oda can really play with like parallels and paneling and stuff.
It's rare that you get a very even match for a fight in most shonen manga. Usually it's like one's obviously better than the other, and the other has to, if it's the good guy that's not as good, he has to find a way to fight back. And, that's always fun, but it's also unique to have an even battle. It's sort of like why people love the Piccolo versus Android 17 fight. It's an even match. Yeah. You don't see that.
And really, like, I think because they're so close, it makes it really entertaining when one kind of gets the advantage over the other, which is, I feel like that's the basis of like all action scenes ever, basically, is that sort of like, nobody has the advantage on either side for too long, because at that point it's just boring. So I think what I really enjoyed about this fight is how fast the dynamics would change, but like they kind of feels like a good fighting game match where like you gotta you go back to neutral. They're evenly matched, and then one goes in and gets the advantage, and it just sort of like there's always sort of like an evenly matched baseline.
Yeah, and a lot of the tension comes from Sanji having to deal with Bon Clay's tricks and gimmicks, and finding ways around them, and it's really fun. You got this showdown aspect to them when they get the last kick. They're both standing apart from each other, and then it's too much, and he's sent spinning back into a building, taken out. Yeah. And even Sanji kind of passes out. He is definitely on the edge.
I do want to call out that last spread where they kind of like cross over each other with the kicks, and just like the background fades out. All you see is really like the dust, and it's. And when you see them land and there's no background, like it is so dramatic.
Yeah, it just communicates how big this fight was, and it's so fun.
Yeah.
And he's just like, well, I give up. You can finish me off, so kill me, especially because the organization will eliminate me anyway. But then Sanji reads out and just says, it was a good fight. There's nothing more to be said. And Bon Clay, again, showing that he's kind of a good dude. This man is living proof of grudging respect between enemies. I'm not going to cry. Yeah. And then he gets beat up anyway.
Yeah, taking back Usopp's goggles. Oh, that's great. Sanji's the one fighting dirty now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he is. He walks away, undoes his tie, and he's like, well, I broke some more bones.
I love the narration box saying, winner Sanji spoils the victory, a dubious friendship.
Yes, absolutely. But we're back at the palace. They're gathering up all of the explosives. The idea is, well, basically she's saying, don't worry, Chaka. I understand that you had no choice. You've dealt with the violence admirably for more than 2 years without Igaram to guide you. Even if we succeed to put down this rebellion, as long as he remains alive, this kingdom will never know peace. So it's like, still got to take out Crocodile.
Yep. It's the major goal is yet to be achieved. No, it is kind of it's funny here. The scene feels like they're already celebrating. Like, oh, this is a great plan.
Yeah, this is a good idea. We got plans.
We did it.
Yes, it's like when the war is over, we'll throw a grand celebration for those pirates, and get that feed me until I explode. But
Yep.
she's obviously still worried about them. However, time for a wrench. Crocodile appears. It's like, yeah.
I did not remember that he showed up.
No,
here.
I didn't either.
I was genuinely surprised.
He just shows up. It's like, yeah, I always like palaces. It's a perfect place from which to look down on vermin and just.
Man, what a.
You're not blowing up anything, Vivi.
Yep. That face from Vivi, I feel like tells you everything you need to know of the sort of like the implication that like, oh yeah, Luffy lost big time.
Yeah, that is. I didn't even think about that. That realization from her is like, oh crap, where's Luffy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not think about that. That's bad. But time for our, I guess, next fight. I'd say first, last fight, because it's it seems to be a double battle between Mr. One and Doublefinger and Zoro and Nami.
Yep.
But Nami's run off, so he's having the birds look for her. He's like, wait, there she is. Let's take a shortcut. He's like, he sees exactly where she is.
Going the complete opposite way.
Yes.
I think my favorite part throughout all of this is like Nami's running for her life, and just like you see Mr. One and Miss Doublefinger just kind of casually walking behind her.
Yes. And it's like, rule 1 in the guide to killing: crush the weaker target first.
Hey, it's got a point.
Not bad. So yeah, Nami's in a bit of trouble. That's not so good, especially because Sanji had trouble taking on the second top agent, and she's against the partner of the well, as we'll see, the partner. Slight spoiler for the chapter you should have read, but yeah. Either way, let's go ahead and get to chapter 190, and yeah, they're definitely a shorter episode this time, just because it's all fights.
It's just all fights.
It's all fights. They're fun fights, but there's not a lot of meat to get into them. But Hachi, with his continued trading quest, receives a golden trident for...
It feels incredibly important.
Yeah, I don't know what it's for or anything like that. I have no clue. But the fact that he got a trident, it's like, you know what? That seems like a heck of an upgrade for him. It's a good weapon at the very least. Again, Hachi, wholesome.
Very wholesome.
We get back to Nami, and she's just like, I can't run anymore. I have to fight. Looks back at the two. He's like, nope, can't.
Nope. Yeah, I really love that sort of that like kind of decision making feels very natural.
Yeah, it does. It's like
it's just the sort of like, all right, got to do this, and then you take one look and you're like,
no, I can't do this. No. But she almost gets caught by Mr. One before Zoro coming in with the save.
So rad.
Oh, it's super rad, especially because he blocks it, and then the pillar behind him just splits like string cheese.
Yes.
Breaking vertically, or, as Zoro points out, it's like, no, it did not break. That was the sound of a sword.
Yeah. Wow.
Goes to strike him as everything falls around, and he's like, yeah, you cut that with your arm.
Just some really, really cool paneling going on here.
Oh, yeah. We get another good Zoro fight. It's been a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It's good to have that back. And yeah, Mr. One ate the dice fruit. He's become a human sword.
I do really like. Did you remember that this was like foreshadowed back at the Spider's Cafe?
Yeah, I remember that bit. I remember at the time it's like, oh, he did go through just a perfect circle type thing.
Yeah. We're just like the shapes that he cut, like, cause he like Bon Clay kicked him through a wall, I think, and then just the way that the debris was just like, that's not natural.
No. Again, just a nice bit of foreshadowing to what is a devil fruit he might have. Mm-hmm. No surprise he has a devil fruit, to be honest, at this rate.
Of course. Yeah, I mean, hey, he's Mr. One.
And he starts talking to Zoro. It's like, yeah, a few years ago on the East Blue, you turned down an offer to work for Baruch Works. So it's like, oh, yeah, it does get back memories. You guys rejected my conditions. I told you I'd join if I could be the boss.
That's so peak Zoro.
Yeah, it is.
That's, I love it.
Yep. He's like, instead of agreeing to my demand, he attacked me, so I dealt with him. Do you have a new offer? Of course, I'm not interested in being the boss anymore. Only an idiot would want that
I love
job.
that, like, the page turn from Zoro talking smack to the just, like, instantly clash.
Yeah. He's like, oh, he struck a nerve. Even Doublefinger is impressed, like, ooh.
Yeah.
I think she's a little taken with Zoro there.
He's fun.
It's like, don't get cocky. You're just a swordsman of a little band of no-account pirates. It's like, so? You're just a mindless puppet who's been sold to a fantasy world.
Man, the clap back.
Yeah, it's good. It's enough that Mr. One is just like, no, Doublefinger out of here. This is one-on-one.
Yeah. Obviously, we're not going to get much into this fight in this batch of chapters, but this is generally one of my favorite Zoro fights.
Yeah.
And seeing it start here, I'm just like, oh, man. Here we go.
This is a good one.
That's so high.
But Nami has run off, seems to be safe for now in some sort of alley. And she has a little bit of a flashback where she went to Usopp to build her a weapon, which we saw, like she mentioned before, but this is the actual flashback to it.
I just noticed Chopper's in the room sleeping during this conversation. I didn't notice that when I read through it.
Also, wonderful little thing that Usopp it's Usopp's workshop painted on the side there.
Yeah.
And it's like a little Japanese thing because his shoes are off as he's working.
I love it.
Yeah. Basically, she's like, I don't want to be a burden. I want to be able to fight, especially for Vivi. And he's like, well, there's not much time, so... And he's like, nope, stop. There's no task too difficult for Usopp. And she she tries to use her Sanji tactics on him. It's just like, I love you. Thank you. I'm counting on you. And he's like, while he's trying to talk about the cost of the materials.
Yeah, it's like, the weapons don't come cheap. And she's just like, I'm counting on you.
So she's like, all right, I have to do it. I hope she's all right, but for Vivi, but she's only one woman. I can take her.
Again, the page turn.
Yeah.
Going from that to just like Nami just gets like stabbed straight through from behind the wall. Ooh.
And then all of a sudden, chunk, 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 chunk. And through the wall with that weird swish hip comes Miss Doublefinger.
Yep. That is, again, I made this comment like first time she did that, but it is genuinely like something out of like a horror movie.
It really is. And that's when we find out that she's a human spike, the spike fruit, and can produce spikes from any part of her body.
That is, looks genuinely painful.
Yeah, it does. I mean, kind of fitting that you got a slice and poke, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like we got like the assassination devil fruits.
Yeah, that's kind of the best way to put it. But it's time for her new weapon. It's time no more running. She's actually going to fight this time with the climate baton. According to Nami, it can summon clouds, it can make rain, it can stir up the wind. Once in this position, the miraculous baton can cause extraordinary changes in the weather. And she's going to start with Sunny.
The second she said that, I was like, wasn't Alabasta having rain problems?
Yeah. Good point. But she presses the button, fine tempo, and it's like a magic trick with pigeons.
I mean, yeah, it's a gag, but I'm kind of genuinely surprised that like Usopp was able to engineer that.
Yeah, like where were the pigeons hiding? But I do also feel a frustration that idiot tosses them to the ground.
Yeah, she just smacks it, just throws it down.
And Miss Doublefinger is just sort of concerned. It's like, are you all right?
I like that she's patient during this whole section.
She is very patient. It's like, no, I got to trust him. According to instructions, this form is a rifle. So it's all over for you now. Cloudy tempo and... The ridiculousness, like, oh, what pretty flowers. I like how she's genuinely impressed, and then she's like, I can't do anything with this.
What a way to end this chapter and this episode of the podcast.
Right? It just met Miss Doublefinger going, poor thing. It's
like, oof.
Like the most non-cliffhanger ever.
Yeah, God, we had so much hype during this episode of the podcast, and it just ends like.
It's like it's funny, but it's not like
great.
Like I don't fear for Nami's life at this point because it's literally ending with Doublefinger going poor thing.
Yeah,
there's genuine pity there.
What is she in for? Yeah. You're being pitied by the person who's trying to kill you.
We do get an SBS before we end things off, where we get the favorite tease of the Baroque Works agents, about what you'd expect. Though this is one thing I did miss, that eagle-eyed readers spotted older versions of the San band within the Rebels.
That's so cool.
That is, I did not know.
Didn't even cross my mind.
Good on him. That is attention to detail, both for Oda and the reader. Like, I did not notice that.
Before we go into the wrap up, there is one thing I wanted to point out, and I don't know if, because it is such a visual thing, I wonder if you might be able to edit in this picture for the video version of the podcast, because I'm about to send you something real quick.
Sure.
But because the first chapter that we covered on this episode of the podcast was the end of volume 21, so we're on volume 22 right now. This is one of the few double volume covers in the series where they're like matched.
Yes,
because volume 21 is like all of Baroque works looking to the right, and then volume 22 is all the Straw Hats looking to the left.
Yeah,
and like when you put them together, it's like they're having a standoff.
It's a cool picture, and they got
it's really
got
cool.
Concentric circles. I love how Karoo and Eyelashes are there to round out their crew.
Yeah, they're part of the crew.
Yeah,
and there's I think there's maybe one. I definitely don't have all of the One Piece cover arts like just in my memory. There's one other time extremely recently where I remembered that this happened.
Oh, nice.
Well, I remembered it because it was like a couple months ago. So Oda really plays with like the cover art for the volumes every now and again, and I felt like because we were here, like I had to point it out.
Yeah, it's pretty dang good. So yeah, but yeah, that's it. I think next time we'll be doing the fights with Double Finger and Mr. One. I don't know if they finish next time, but
oh boy,
we are rapidly getting towards the end of this arc.
Yeah. We are so close to the end of to say we're at the end of Alabasta is so, like, I'm giddy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It's very cool. There's still so much hype stuff to come.
Yeah, we got a lot to cover.
And I can say right now, the fight that I was not impressed with, I don't remember enjoying as much because it just went too long, in my opinion, was the Nami Double Finger fight.
Yeah, seriously.
I felt, if my memory serves me correct, I felt like they pulled from the magic trick way too much during that initial fight.
Yeah, I wonder if that was it then, what we just saw. Like, is the fight just going to be taken seriously then here in the manga? I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, it might or something like that, but I just remember being, like, taking so long and me being genuinely frustrated with Usopp that this was happening. We'll see if I feel a little bit better about it next time.
I do think it is genuinely cool that she, like, has a weapon of her own.
Yes, that was so necessary. It's cool that Nami can get in on fights now.
Yes.
And we'll see how those fights take part. It's pretty cool. So yeah, with that, I believe we've said all we've wanted to say about chapters 186 to 190 of One Piece. Thank you so much for listening, and you can find more of my ramblings and stream VODs over at BitNerd Games on YouTube, or BitNerd with an underscore at the end on Twitter. And Brandon, where can everyone find you at?
I'm at Brandon Bovia on Twitter. Just, talking about anime, manga, games, and my job. Nothing really to shill this time, so just follow me. Yeah, definitely keep an eye on my social media. I'm gonna throw this out there, no promises. I do think I might want to do a stream of a One Piece Odyssey when that comes out.
Oh, that'd be fun.
It's not for a while, but watch the space.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely check that out if you get the chance. So yeah, and if you'd like to help us out more, you can support the podcast over at patreon.com/Derek Bittner. That's DERRICKBITNER to listen to the next episode 3 days early. And make sure you return next time as we discuss chapters 191 to 195 of One Piece. Until then, my friends, bye.
Remember to take life one piece at a time.
Now kill me. You may as well. Baroque Works will do it anyway. Don't just stand there. Get it over with. Come on, finish me.
It was a good fight. And beyond that, we don't need any more words, do we?
This is, without question, the deep respect that arises between rivals. But I won't cry.
Bye now. Oh, and I'm taking back our sharpshooter's goggles.
Well, he did finish me.